Hello sports fans, welcome to Super Sports Central. Today, we're going to be covering my Week 14 college football rankings. So, going over last week's rankings, what those teams did in Week 13. Last week at number 10, I had Missouri. They demolished Arkansas, winning 48-14. 9 was Louisville. They lost to Kentucky 38-31. 8 was Alabama. They escaped with the 27-24 win over Auburn. 7 was Texas. They crushed Texas Tech, winning 56-7. 6 was Oregon. They dominated Oregon State, winning 31-7. 5 was Florida State. They beat Florida 24-15. 4 was Ohio State. They lost to Michigan 34-20. 3 was Washington. They beat Washington State in the Apple Cup 24-21. 2 was Michigan. They beat Ohio State 34-20. And 1 was Georgia, who beat Georgia Tech 31-23. So this week's rankings, coming in at number 10, I've got Penn State. So they enter the top 10, but that is just a result of the Louisville loss. I thought about some other teams here for number 10, like Ole Miss, and I even thought about Arizona, but I don't think I could put a 3-loss Arizona team here at 10. Or at least not yet. Maybe after a bowl game that'll be different. But I've got Penn State here. They were dominant with the win over Michigan State, winning 42-0. The offense was great. Drew Allar played a great game with 292 yards and 2 touchdowns. The defense dominated, shutting out Michigan State, and held them to just 53 total yards, which is insane to think about. And Penn State, after a win, another 10-win regular season for Penn State, they enter number 10. Number 9, we've got Missouri. They move up one spot to 9 after a dominant 48-14 win over Arkansas. Running back Cody Schrader was great, with 217 yards and a touchdown, plus quarterback Brady Cook had 3 total touchdowns. The Missouri defense was also great, allowing just 14 points and pitching a shutout until the fourth quarter, but Missouri, after a dominant win over Arkansas, they enter at number 9. Number 8, we've got Alabama. So they've remained at 8 after a wild 27-24 win in the Iron Bowl over Auburn. Alabama should not have won that game. They trailed 24-20 with 43 seconds left and had a 4th and goal from the Auburn 31-yard line, yet they somehow scored a miraculous touchdown to win the game. But Alabama's still extremely lucky to be in this position, still in playoff contention, and still being a one-loss team. Jalen Milroe was great for Alabama with 259 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns, plus he also added 107 rushing yards. But Alabama, after a wild win in the Iron Bowl, they remain at number 8. Coming in at number 7, we've got Texas. They destroyed their rival Texas Tech, winning 57-7. They ran the ball at will, running for 302 yards and 3 touchdowns on 7 yards per carry. And their defense was also great, allowing just 7 points and forcing 3 turnovers. So a dominant win for Texas. They remain at number 7. Next week, they take on Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship game. Number 6, we've got Ohio State. They fall down to number 6 after losing to Michigan 34-20. It was the 3rd straight season Ohio State lost to Michigan. They weren't terrible, but they couldn't put together a game-winning drive as Kyle McCord threw a game-sealing pick. But in the loss, Marvin Harrison Jr. put together a great game in likely his final game as a Buckeye, as he finished with 5 catches for 118 yards and a touchdown. But Ohio State, they fall short against Michigan for the 3rd year in a row, and they fall to number 6 in my rankings. They will need a lot of chaos if they want to get into the college ball playoff. Coming in at number 5, we've got Oregon. They move up one spot to number 5, which is really just a result of the Ohio State loss. But Oregon was great with the win over their rival Oregon State, winning 31-7. Bo Nix was great in his final home game, and he continued his Heisman case, throwing for 367 yards and 2 touchdowns, while also adding 31 yards on the ground and a rushing touchdown. And Oregon's two star receivers both had great games, as Troy Franklin finished with 128 yards and a touchdown, and Tez Johnson finished with 137 yards. Defensively, Oregon was great, holding Oregon State just 7 points and shutting down the rushing attack, allowing just 53 rushing yards. But Oregon, they move up to number 5. Next week, they take on Washington in the Pac-12 championship game, where the winner will make the playoff. Number 4, we've got Florida State. They move up to number 4 after the Ohio State loss. But Florida State, they beat Florida for the 2nd year in a row, winning 24-15. It wasn't pretty for Florida State, but they got the win. Running back Trey Benson had a good game with 95 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. And the Florida State defense was great, getting to the quarterback 6 times and also forcing a turnover. Florida State is still definitely a good team, but they're nowhere near as good as they are with Jordan Travis. And Florida State enters number 4, but without Jordan Travis, I don't think they're a top 5 team. But they have been great so far this year. They're in the ACC championship game next week, where they take on Louisville, but Florida State enters at number 4. Coming in at number 3, we've got Washington. So Washington remains at number 3 after a 24-21 win in the Apple Cup. So it wasn't a great win for Washington over their rival Washington State, but they made a huge decision to go for it to get into Washington State territory and eventually field goal range to kick a game-winning field goal. But they ended up going for it from their own 29 with a minute 11 to go, where they went with an end-around option play to Rome Odunze. But Washington, they haven't been as dominant lately as they have been earlier in the season, but they have found ways to win games, and that has been really good for Washington. They're 12-0, one of the best teams in the country. This is a really good Washington team. They enter my rankings at number 3. Next week, they have a massive rematch against Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game. Coming in at number 2, we've got Michigan. They've run at 2 after a big win over Ohio State, 34-20. Michigan beat Ohio State for the third year in a row, and for the third year in a row, they make the Big Ten championship game. Michigan was good against Ohio State. Blake Corum ran for 2 touchdowns, and the defense was great, forcing 2 turnovers. But Michigan, after winning the game for the third year in a row, will face Iowa in the Big Ten championship game, and is a near walk for the college football playoff. They enter number 2. And number 1, it is Georgia. No surprise. They finished the regular season ranked number 1 the entire way through in my rankings. But they're at 1 after a 31-23 win over Georgia Tech. It wasn't the prettiest win, but they won. Offensively, they ran the ball very effectively for 262 yards and 3 touchdowns on 6.7 yards a carry. And defensively, it wasn't amazing for Georgia, but they were good enough. Georgia's now won 29 games in a row. Next week, they'll face Alabama in the SEC championship game. And my updated college football playoff predictions, the 4 teams remain the same, but I'm going to change around the order because I don't think the committee will rank the 4 teams in the right order. So I think the order should be Washington, Georgia, Michigan, Texas, but I think it's going to end up looking Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Texas. But those are my Week 14 college football rankings. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, turn notifications. I do my best to post as often as possible. Let me know in the comments if you agree with my rankings, disagree, and why. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But thank you for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, turn notifications. I do my best to post as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.